How is Russia's propaganda targeting the Ukrainian media and new fakes about the newly transferred Leopard tanks in our traditional weekly review? This is Fake Check.
Ukrainians have become less frequently watching TV because of government propaganda, poll finds. The Kremlin media are spreading information that Ukrainians have started watching less television due to the alleged presence of propaganda there and the so-called media policy of the Kyiv regime. In such reports, the media refer to the results of a survey by the Rating Sociological Group.
So compared to November 2021, the share of television in a segment of information sources fell from 55 to 43%, while the share of social networks, including Telegram, increased from 11 to 41%. At the same time, it is noteworthy that YouTube's share has grown from 21 to 29%, while the internet news websites have noticeably sunk from 47 to 36%.
At the end of February, the Sociological Group did publish a comprehensive study, How the War Changed Me and the Country, Results of the Year, where the above issues are raised. However, it turned out that there are no such conclusions in the document. On the contrary, it is noted that, in general, trust in media has increased, but communication channels have changed.
There has been an increase in the media trust, but the main feature of wartime is a sharp change in the channels of communication and obtaining information by citizens. And if trust in national and local media increased, the frequency of consumption of their news content, on the contrary, decreased. National television from 55% to 43%, local from 11% to 7%. Internet pages also have some losses of the audience.
In the poll, there is no conclusion that it was the Ukrainian government's propaganda that became the main reason for the decline in the popularity of television among Ukrainians. The Russian media referred to this study and added to it the opinions of unnamed experts to create another fake. Employees of Military Acquisition Center in Mykolaiv compete. If you issue more draft notices, you rest in a cottage. Kremlin propaganda began to spread another fake about mobilization in Ukraine.
Mobilization events in Mykolaiv have turned into competition between employees of the Military Registration and Enlistment Office. The main prize for the champion is a weekend in the country cottage. While the residents are being taken away for slaughter, the employees of the Military Registration and Enlistment Office have a rest and arrange holidays.
Low-quality black and white photographs were used to create a fake. They are very difficult to verify. In addition, the men in the photo are not in uniform, and in general, the images look like automatically generated photos. Russian propaganda pays special attention to the topic of mobilization in Ukraine, trying to show that Ukraine allegedly fights to the last Ukrainian, suffers huge losses, and because of this is forced to call up even teenagers and women, as well as deport Ukrainians from abroad. Wagnerites destroy the first Leopard tank and its Polish-German crew. At the end of February, the Kremlin media and social media users began to spread information that fighters of the Wagner private military company managed to destroy the German Leopard tank in the east of Ukraine. The proof is the photo that accompanies the publication.
Today, on February 26, 2023, the fighters of the Wagner private military company destroyed the first Leopard tank near the village of Yagidne. The fighters were very surprised to see the German equipment that rolled into our positions.
StopFake project decided to verify the authenticity of the published photo after such a news release. It turned out that it was made long before the start of the full-scale Russian aggression against Ukraine. A reverse search of the photo on TNI program showed that this photo began to be actively distributed back in 2018. Then, as reported in various media, this tank belonging to the Turkish army was destroyed in Syria.
And now let's put some light on the latest fakes produced by the Kremlin propaganda machine with my next guest, the creative editor of StopFake, Ruslan Dynnichenko. Mr. Dynnichenko, I'm so pleased to see you again.
Hello.
So, how successful is Russian propaganda in discrediting the Ukrainian media, and who is this discredit aimed to?
Well, there are three target audiences for Russian disinformation and propaganda machine. First of all, it's Russian population, and this story with the tank targeted them. There are no success stories for Russian military in Ukraine for many, many months. So they create fake stories about their imaginary victories in Ukraine. And of course, Ukrainian population is number two priority for them. And they don't target Ukrainians with pro-Russian disinformation and propaganda. They try to find narratives that split our society, demotivate our people, to help our army, to go to the army, to defend our country. And number three priority for them is a Western audience. People in the European Union, the United States, those countries who helped us a lot with military equipment, financially, and so on and so on. So they're trying to persuade them that Ukrainian army is failing. They trying to persuade them that Ukraine is a Nazi country. And of course, they try to persuade them that huge losses of Western supplied military equipment are here in Ukraine, and that a lot of military equipment goes through different channels to the European countries, to terrorists who might use them against Europeans or against Americans.
Thank you. And this is not the first time I've noticed that Russian propaganda is continuously trying to put the question of mobilization in Ukraine. Why do they do that?
Well, of course, they want to demotivate Ukrainians to fight for their countries, to go to the army. They want to make an impression that Ukraine is losing this battle, and there is no point to go to the army. So that's why they create a lot of stories like this. And of course, sometimes they mix the truthful stories from Odessa or other regions. And sometimes they stage very similar stories. But again, I don't think they're very successful with this. And also they try to show their own population that Ukrainians don't want to fight, and the victory, Russian victory, is very close.
And now let's talk a bit about the fake about the Leopard tanks. So this is like an ideal script for James Cameron or Hollywood, but still. So in addition to the false information about the destruction of the Leopard tank, they also mentioned that the tank crew is consisting of the German and Polish soldiers. Why Russian propaganda is increasingly mentioning that there are lots of foreign troops are involved in the war in Ukraine against Russia?
Well, it's another narrative, another popular narrative that Ukrainians don't want to fight, and that's why this conflict is, this war is conflict between NATO, the United States, and Russia.
Oh.
So, and this helped them to explain why there are no victories from their side. There are no victories for Russia because they have to deal not with Ukrainians. They promised to deal with Ukrainians and finish this so-called special operation in 3 days. But now the year has gone, and there are no visual success for them. So they try to demonstrate that foreign fighters are operating German tanks, and there are a lot of foreign mercenaries fighting for Ukraine, not Ukrainians by themselves.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being the guest of Spotlight Ukraine, and see you next week with the new updates about the fakes made by the Russian propaganda. Thank you so much once again. Ruslan Dinichenkov, the creative editor of StopFake, was the guest of Spotlight Ukraine. Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Latest news, trends, and analytics on all about Ukraine. Like, share, and subscribe. Any questions, proposals, and comments, contact us via email.